Now we will move on to the next important concept of the relationship, which is known as the direction of relationship, right? So if you'll notice any relationship, there is a small arrow that exists. Can you see? Between people and orders, there is an arrow which goes from people's table to the orders table, right? Similarly, there is an arrow here which goes from calendar to orders table. And then between returns and the orders table, there are actually dual arrows, right? Which goes from orders to returns as well as returns to orders, right? So these arrows that you see are nothing but the direction of filtering, right? We call them as direction of filtering. This basically tells that which table will be able to filter which table based on the relationship that exists. For example, if I again consider the people and the order table, the relationship that exists between them, this means that if I filter region, right? If I filter region column in the people's table, then that filter will be propagated, right? That filter will basically go from the people's table to the orders table and then filter the orders table as well based on the relationship that exists between the people and the orders table, right? Let's just look at this with the help of an example in the report view. For example, if you look at the first one, right, just focus on the first two tables, right? So if you'll see, this is a region column coming from the people's table, and these are the fields coming from the orders table where we have the profit by the region. Now, if I basically, let's say, filter, this is nothing but a slicer visual. So if I click on this, you can see, this is a slicer visual and the field is coming from the people's table. If I hover over this field, it tells me the table name and the field name. So, this region is coming from the people's table. So if I, let's say, select any one region, which is central, right? So as you can see, the orders table automatically gets filtered for the region that I have selected in the people's table. So this is happening because I have a relationship built between the regions of both the tables, right? So if I select a region here, if I filter a region here, so that filter is propagated through this relationship to my other table, and it will filter accordingly, which is actually happening here, right? But now the question is, what if I have to do the opposite? Which means that what if I have to filter anything from the orders table and see its impact on the people's table, right? Will that happen? The answer is no, right? Because the direction of filtering is from people's to orders, right? So the orders table cannot filter the people's table because for that the filtering will have to go from orders to people's, right? But there is no such arrow that exists in this relationship, which basically tells you that the direction of filtering from orders to people actually exists, right? So that is not there. So if you'll filter anything on the orders table, so that filter will not be propagated to the people's table because, as you can see, the direction of filtering is from people's to orders and not from orders to people. We'll look at this again in the report view using some of these visuals. So if I go to the bottom, right, now I have the opposite. So I have the region table coming from the orders table, right? The region column coming from the orders table, and here I have all the fields coming from the people's table, right? I'll filter. Now, remember what I'm trying to do here. I'm basically trying to propagate a filter. Basically, I'm applying a filter on the orders table and see if it propagates to the people table, right? So I'm applying a filter on this table and see if it propagates to the people table through this relationship, right? So let me select one of the regions. Let's just select central again, right? So I selected central. You see, there is nothing, no change happening on the people table, right? The central region, along with that, we also have Caribbean, we also have Canada, AMEA, right? Nothing is happening here. Let me select some other region, Caribbean. right? Nothing happens. North, nothing happens, right? This is because that there is no direction of filtering allowed from the orders table to the people's table. Now, how do we change that? So you can always double click on the relationship. So this will open the manage relationships window, right? Or an edit relationship window, and which basically tells you, what is the cardinality, what is kind of a relationship that exists between the two tables. You can always change it. If I click on this drop down, I'll have the list of all the tables. So if I want to change this relationship to some other table, to some other column, so I can do that by selecting the relevant table and then just clicking on the column, right? And this is what we were talking about, the cross filtering direction. So right now it's a single direction, and remember that in a one-to-many relationship, the direction of filtering is always from the one side to the many side. So if it says single, then it automatically means that the direction of filtering will be from the one side to the many side. So that's why by default the direction of filtering is from peoples to orders. But if we want to change it to, let's say, both, because we also want the order table to be able to filter the people tables. So that's why we'll change the direction of filtering to both, and we'll say OK. Right? So you'll now see there is a double arrow that will appear here. Here you go. Right? So now there is a double arrow, which means now the filter will propagate from the people's table to the orders table, and it will also propagate the other way around, because now we have that arrow, right? Now we'll go back to our visual and see what happens here. Can you see I selected north from the orders table? Now this is getting filtered. I'll select central. Now it just shows me central. Now the people table is actually getting filtered from the orders table, because the filter is propagating from the orders table here to the people's table, because we enabled the direction of filtering from orders to people as well, right? So as you can see, now it shows everything. If I select central, so it will just filter central. And if I change the direction of filtering again to just, a single direction, and click OK, right? So it will not be able to filter it again. Go to the right. So I'll select Canada. Right, as you can see, nothing happens again. Right. So whenever you are facing such troubles in filtering, or the slicers or filtering or calculations not working properly, the most prominent reason for that is the relationship and the direction of filtering that exists in the relationship, right? So I hope you understand the concept of relationships now, and you'll be able to troubleshoot your existing data models in case of any issues. And also, while creating new data models, you can pay extra attention to the direction of filterings, because this is a very important concept for the proper functioning and optimum performance of a data model, right? So I hope this was helpful. So we'll discuss more about data modeling and all. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.